We were supposed to be playing an Oriental-themed campaign. Yes, that's the word he used. And asked everyone to make characters that would fit that style. The DM was the kind of dude who lived and breathed anime, had body pillows, unashamedly talked IRL about his waifu tier lists, etc. You get the idea. This was before the internet was seriously picking up enough to allow people to play online, so local was all we had, and games were sparse. I decided I wanted to make a sort of mystic/old wise man vibe, but I'd also always wanted to try a Dragonborn style character, so I ran it by him. And he liked the idea of my character, looking a bit like one of those dragons from Japanese lore and myth with a beard. Great, right? Sorted. Officially a Dragonborn cleric, but you get the idea. Anyway, the game starts and someone at the table, can't remember who, doesn't matter really, says,
"Oh, you're playing a cleric and a Dragonborn. That's like that Raptor Jesus meme, right? Is that why you're playing Raptor Jesus? Because of a meme?"
I stare at him blankly, as, to be honest, that was a super weird leap for anyone to make, but eventually said, no, that was not the inspiration at all. However, I noticed the DM giving me a weird look, but paid it no mind. The whole table started joking about how my character was Raptor Jesus, and how funny that was that the DM let it slide in a serious campaign. So I'm away for the second session because of family issues. Come back to session 3, and get told before I even sit back down or say hello,
"Roll a new character."
I'm confused, obviously, so I asked what the DM was talking about. He goes on to explain that I
tricked him into allowing a meme character at the table,
and that
he expected better of me,
and how it was
only appropriate that my character got crushed to death by an avalanche,
that the rest of them miraculously survived. I asked again what the hell he was talking about, but he just said,
"Roll a new character or leave, and no memes this time. Don't fuck with my setting."
I left. What in the fucking lay Reddit moment was this group? I can practically smell this DM through this post, and I can imagine it wasn't much better in person. I could go on, but look, I'm going to extend an olive branch to Weebs. I've been pretty harsh to them recently, and I don't want to crash into all of them with a wrecking ball as I make fun of this guy. Besides, I went to a couple anime conventions recently, and you know what? People were having fun. They were cringe, yeah, but they were free. And hey, most of them even took showers. So, good on you, anime convention goers. That being said, this DM sounds like the textbook definition of a neckbeard. And while I'm totally fine with someone who's a nerdy goofball about their favorite shows and comics, I am less fine with the kind of person who thinks anime is 100% reflective of Japanese culture. And instead of studying the blade, he should have studied some social skills to muster up the ability to listen to OP when he said he wasn't making a meme character. But overall, it sounds like this was for the best. I scrolled through the comment section of this post and discovered that they had a previous game that the OP described as a thinly veiled anime plot, with a samurai and a magic girl who's definitely 10,000 years old, which I'm sure would have been the same excuse that Dr. Disrespect would have come up with if he didn't just up and admit to being a PDF file on Twitter. 2 NPCs it seems this DM invented to be the real main characters, who then proceeded to scold the party and beat them up after telling them that they were weak and didn't need their help. Which, as you all know, is an excellent way to hook players into your one-shot. Talking shit to characters they just made, crushing their fantasies while propping up your super original OCs. Oh, players just love that stuff. So yeah, after reading that, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole campaign was going to be like this. So, if anything, getting kicked from this game was a blessing in disguise. So I'd like to thank someone special for this. Thank you, Raptor Jesus, for keeping our prayers in your hearts. Yeah, so this one was a lot longer than I expected, and I forgot to do an intro, so hello, my name is Jacob Crowe, and welcome to the Crow's Perch, where each week, or at least whenever I remember to upload, we go through terrible tales of tabletop tragedy. You may have noticed we did a little bit of remodeling recently, and had some roommates move in, but I kinda like the new Perch. It's very homey, we got a bonfire going, and hey, we even got a new TV in here, but nothing's changed. It's still the same old Crow's Perch. just nicer, with a less affordable mortgage. You think housing prices wouldn't affect Corvids, but we truly live in a society, don't we? But you didn't come here to be crushed by the unfathomable weight of the beast of capitalism. You came here for stories, and I have them. And so, without further ado, let's gather up a murder and dive right into this next story. So a few years back, I responded to a posting on Roll20. The group is looking for a DM for a streaming project that we're planning on starting. Being comfortable streaming, I replied throwing out the type of game I run, and a brief overview of the setting I like to use. Eventually we met in Discord, and they decided to give me a try. I'm not going into specifics about the entire group, as they don't really matter to the story. The one player that does matter though, is Jen. She wanted to play a female barbarian, and provided me with 6 pages of backstory. Please don't misunderstand me. I have no issue with players who are that involved with their character and presenting it to me, so that I could ensure that it was okay for the game. Her character was interesting, as she was born into a male-dominated clan, but had the mark of the leader. She faked her way into taking the trials of maturity, which was for only male clan members, allowing her to prove her strength, etc. It was a trope, but honestly, very well written. Our first session started well. The character had loose connections to each other, with Jen's being tied to the half-orc druid character who she met upon arriving in the civilized lands. 2 things occurred to me as we played. Jen was playing her character with a gender chip on her shoulder. When her actions were questioned, her default statement was, "Because I am female?" It wasn't annoying, and actually created a number of laughs. 4 out of the 6 characters were female, which made her claims about being targeted because she was female even funnier. The other thing I noticed was the half-orc rarely seemed to get a chance to interact in the first session. Jen would always do the talking for her. When we finished the first session, I went over notes, clarified some of the rule tweaks that came up during play, etc. I commented I liked the way Jen played up her gender chip. Jen said it's not hard, with the world stacked against females. I clarified that it wasn't, and she more or less brushed me off. When I asked the half-orc, Dawn, if she was uncomfortable with dialogue, she said no, but since she was playing a half-orc, she didn't want racial bias to hurt the group. Confused, I explained that the world, or at least the part of it that they are in, doesn't harbor racial insecurities, except to gnomes. Long story. Completely understandable. For me personally, World of Warcraft has forever tainted gnomes in my head as being the meme character. The kind of ancestry that's played by people who name themselves Florby Glumpkin and spend the majority of their day talking about anal in general chat and attempting to translate racial slurs into Orcish. I don't care if he's not a Gnoblin. I don't care if he's not a Gnelf. If I see him in the streets, I'm fixing to gnab a metal pipe, I'll tell you that much. Also, real Short Kings play Halfling, and everyone knows this. Back to the story. I also clarified that this had been mentioned in my write-up of the world I had sent out. Jen chimed in that she was handling things, because orcs usually are treated poorly in normal settings. I simply reiterated that that was not true for my setting, and felt like Jen brushed it off again. Second session doubled down on the trope. Jen made sure to accuse most NPCs of undervaluing her and the group because of their female status. She accused a guard of racism when they arrested Dawn, who was discovered standing over a vagrant's decapitated body. The session was fine till the end, when the group discovered that the big boss for the small adventure was a hag. The group defeated her using a MacGuffin, got the hook for the next adventure, and everything ended on a good note. We met up in Discord a day later to discuss things going forward. Jen came out and said she felt I was a poor fit for the group, as my game world lacked the realism they were looking for. When I asked the others, most said they had a good time, but needed a DM they all enjoyed. Jen told me a fantasy world lacking misogyny invalidated her character's story. She also felt like I purposely made male characters more accepting to turn her character's struggle into comedy relief. She also felt like a world without racism towards orcs was simply lazy and lacked representative struggle against oppression. I thanked them for the game before getting booted from the Discord. I still gamed with 2 of the other players who asked to join one of my other games. Last I heard, I was the 3rd DM, and they were up to the 5th and still hadn't started streaming as of a year later. So I guess I have 2 questions. First, given the information I provided, is it possible by not having my NPCs act sexist, I invalidated or mocked her character unknowingly? 2. What in the hell is representative struggle against oppression? TLDR. Accused of turning strong female character concept into comic relief by using a campaign setting without misogyny. Also accused of lazy world building by not having NPCs who are racist towards half-orc player. Your game isn't racist or sexist enough is, definitely a complaint, I guess. DM, I'm really upset that your NPCs don't immediately start catcalling my character and howling racial slurs at me. I guess you didn't do enough world building. This statement might be controversial and shock my viewership, but studies conducted on lab mice have determined that people generally don't like racism or sexism, and might not want to implement them into their game worlds. Because, as it turns out, sheltered nerds sitting in a cramped table rolling math rocks might not have the social aptitude to talk about sensitive topics like race at their D&D table. And seeing as how some cute art about Mexican-looking orcs trudging through a desert in the new player's handbook has caused the worst parts of YouTube and Twitter to have a brain hemorrhage, I feel like my perspective is justified. And as a Mexican Crowe, though my white boy accent betrays this, I'm not saying that it's not possible. It just needs a little bit more thinking than the amount a DM puts into writing a funny new NPC named Boblin the Goblin into their next game, and a table full of people that would be willing to have that kind of conversation. And I'm gonna be real, that conversation isn't that hard. Just be a little respectful, and don't play into weird, offensive stereotypes about the groups your in-game cultures are similar to. And I've seen what Wizards of the Coast did to Romani people in Curse of Strahd, so you bet your ass I would have called it out if there's some weird shit in that art. So in light of all this, if I do another D&D actual play, I'm playing a Vaquero Orc Bard with a Sugar Skull mask, who summons the spirits of the dead, because that's cool as hell. I play Dungeons & Dragons with a group of friends who I go to school with. Me, Tabaxi Druid, 2 other guys, Human Warlock and Hobgoblin Fighter, and Human Warlock's sister, Human Monk. Then of course, the DM. It's a campaign full of back and forth travel between the 9 Hells and Prime Material Plane. We usually meet up at the DM's house. She lives with much of her extended family, including her uncle, and about 5 sessions in, he started begging DM to let him play too. She was kind of reluctant at first, because in her words, he's kinda cringe and a man-child. But 2 sessions later, she let him roll up a character, Lizard Folk Wizard. So he joined us in a random town that wasn't really noteworthy. We had a few sessions on the road where nothing of note happened. But once we got to the city, his antics really started getting going. He would from here on out be a wild horn dog, and be as maximally weird about it as possible. And when his niece refused some of the more graphic and or creepy requests, like him using Mage Hand on a princess to grab her, a cat, he would then go on a rant about how he feels women shouldn't be DM, and then play off the rant like,
I'm just teasing you, DM.
And that is not even counting his frequent rants about modern women, usually prompted by some bad interaction with the opposite sex in-game. Like when he tried aggressively flirting, more like sexually harassing, a barmaid, and got rejected and warned to back off. He went on a rant about how impossible it is for men to get laid these days, and how
You can't even look at a woman nowadays without the bitch crying.
Buddy, I don't think modern women are the issue in this case. While the current state of online dating might be abysmal dogshit, I'm more than happy to let you know that the reason why you aren't getting laid is entirely on you, bud. But let's get back to the story. He legitimately seemed to think what he was saying was funny or relatable. Granted, this was the time he got wasted at the table, and he did apologize for that particular outburst, but he would still occasionally drop the mini sexist rant here and there. The final straw, though, was when we encountered a family of travelers who happened to be carrying loot. That guy was drunk. Again. It was a mom, a dad, a son, young adult, and a daughter, young teen. Hobgoblin Fighter killed the parents and the son because he's kind of a murder hobo, and Uncle Lizard Wizard helped him kill them. After they died, he then said,
Leave the girl. She's mine. In a fit of adrenaline, I can't help myself as I pin the screaming little bitch down, rip her clothes off, and start fucking her till she bleeds.
DM then said, before you literally do any of that, she reveals herself to be a dragon made of magma. Your dick burns off before you even get within an inch of her. He then says, well, what the fuck? She just says, sorry, but sometimes these things happen. And then he said,
They happen when the DM ruins the fun just to be a politically correct pussy.
Brother, if it's politically correct to not assault a minor, then goddamn, call me the woke Perch. Let's gather up a pronoun and get right into this gender. She then said, well, if you hate my DMing style so much, then go. He then stormed off to his room and threw a big fat temper tantrum that we could hear for hours. She was just glad her parents weren't home so she could avoid the family drama. Afterwards, he begged to be let in, again and again, over the course of the week. And unfortunately, DM agreed on the condition that he is to abstain from alcohol the entire day before playing a D&D game. One more flock up, and he's out. I told her I think letting him back was a bad idea, and that I genuinely feel he's ruining the game. But she's going to give him one more chance, so we just told her we will be there to support her if he acts like a jackass again, in or out of game. TLDR, DM lets her uncle play D&D with us, only for him to act like a total drunk incel the entire game, and throws a tantrum when he gets kicked. She decided to give him another chance. I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand why the DM wants to give this creepy uncle a second chance. And personally, I think he's on his 5th or 6th chance from what's been described. His comments and his actions are absolutely despicable, and unless the dude drastically changes his opinions on women over the course of the next week, he's just going to go on another weird rant, followed by another absolutely disgusting attempt to force his niece to roleplay his rape fantasy. Keeping him is a waste of time, and I fear that the DM may accidentally create animosity with the group itself if she doesn't make the decision to just boot the creep. The dude should have been yeeted from the table the moment he tried to force himself on an NPC using Mage Hand, but unfortunately we are well past that point, and it seems like he's only been getting worse since then. So to the DM, if you're listening to this, just get rid of the guy. And trust me when I say, he will not be missed. But that's where we're going to end today's stories, and if you enjoyed today's stories, then feel free to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And while both of those are free, if you'd like to contribute to the channel, then consider joining up with the Burb Aristocracy, either by becoming a member on YouTube or signing up on the Crow's Perch Patreon. Links for both of these are in the description down below. And you too, for only $3 a month, can join up with our counts of Quills, like Fairy Fire, Just Monika, Shepdawg, King Drazil, Christian Pip, Haley Thompson, Zero Fang, and Netscape Navigator. Have $5 in your pocket, you don't know what to do with it? Then maybe become a Baron of Beaks, like Spooky, Archangel Nuriko, Keone, Jonathan Fenton, Miss Tiger Beans, Tekris, Kieran Slater, Running Bear, Haley McAuliffe, Brittany Mars, Lady Spectra, Ars Tarak, Kuntos Weasel, Cardispawn, Lord Rend, Den of the Drake, Mick Yeatley, and Anya. Let's say, for some reason, for the sake of argument, you decided, I want to give the Crow's Perch even more money. You could do that. There's options for that. We got the Dukes of Feathers, like Sage, Repetitive Debug, Yuki the Adoraburb, Angrad, Grunt, Kivemind, Jarrett Soor, and of course, Matthew Moqueenie. So, send some money my way, huh? Please? It's only considered e-begging if it doesn't work, so, get on that. And with all of that out of the way, I will see you next time as the crow flies.